The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
It's Tuesday in Texas!
This is the main event. Marks. I'm your first host, lifelong wrestling fan, former radio guy, and cat dad, Troy. And with me, as always, is the WWE Walking Wrestling Encyclopedia and the main event collector. He is the Hulkster to my mean Gene. He is Greg. What's up, Greg?
Brother.
You're supposed to say, well, let me tell you something, Troy.
I could have, but I want to be predictable.
Yeah.
Also, we only went off this because of height reasons, right? I mean,
sure. Yeah, well, because, you got that, that epic Hulk Hogan-like tan just naturally because, you're half Mexican.
Most of me.
Yeah, right. But anyway, man, we are doing a companion piece to one of our previous podcasts. It was Survivor Series 1991. This one took place 6 days later, just crossing over into December. And we're not going to cover the news for this one because, we've covered basically all the big stories.
It's a companion piece. Go listen to the pod and then this. There you go.
Yeah, right. And this show was only an hour and a half long. So there was only a handful of matches. Only 2 of them mattered. So.
Whoa. There's another one on here. I'll correct you when we get to it.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. The opener just blew the doors off the place. But we'll get to that in a minute. But we're not going to take
I'm going to be honest. I think this was probably a tape night, too, for like primetime wrestling and all the other stuff. I don't think Monday Night Raw had debuted yet. So, yeah, primetime and all that stuff. It was probably a tape night. So it's probably why it's just so short.
There was a whole host of dark matches before this. I don't think, because I had heard Conrad Thompson talk about it. I don't think they recorded any of them, which there were a couple of them where you're like, why was this not on tape? But we'll get to it. We're not going to take. Yeah, right. Shut up.
You started.
I know. But the podcast itself, if you want to listen to that, we are available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and wherever you get podcasts, and of course on YouTube. So give us some support that way. And Twitter and Instagram, we are at @main_event_marks and at main event collector on Instagram only. That Instagram account is run by Greg, and it's the show as well as pictures of figs and fig discussion and stuff like that, be it wrestling or other figures out there. That's why he's the main event collector.
And you don't even need your parents' permission, kids, because we keep it PG. There you go.
Exactly. And on Facebook, we're facebook.com/main event marks podcast. So plenty of stuff on there as well. We are growing our Facebook every single day, believe it or not. Today's episode is sponsored by Mahler Bros Golf. We all want to look good on the golf course, but it often comes at the expense of feeling good. Mahler Bros Golf has polos that look good and feel good. With their lightweight and stretchy material that hugs your body, you will feel cool while looking just as cool. Their polos are guaranteed to make you look better, but it's up to you to golf better. On a hot summer day at the golf course, there's no polo that you would rather wear than Mahler Bros Golf signature polos. Mahler Bros Golf has a large catalog of polos with designs for those who want a loud design and others for those who want a subtle and sleek-looking design. They also have fun t-shirts, hats, tumblers, and so much more to make your golfing experience better. Use code BELLYUP at MahlerBros.com for 15% off. Spring and summer are just around the corner, so when you're out golfing and the sun's beating down and you just want to take your shirt off because of the heat, well, these polos almost feel like you aren't wearing one at all. That's great for beating the heat, because I don't know about you, but even here in the Midwest, our summers get blazing hot, so you don't want to give up your golfing time because it's just a little too warm outside. Don't wait to try out your new favorite golf apparel. Upgrade your golf attire with Mahler Bros. Get 15% off at MahlerBros.com with code BELLYUP. That's 15% off at MAHLER Bros.com with code BELLYUP. Turn heads on the golf course or wherever you wear Mahler Bros polos. Mahler Bros Golf. Look good, feel good, play good. Follow the Main Event Marks at facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event_Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event_Marks and at Main Event Collector. Get ready to rumble in your new Main Event Marks merchandise. We've got t-shirts, hoodies, masks, hats, stickers, pins, and much more on our Redbubble store. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com. You can also pick up some awesome clothing items with the latest updated show graphics on our Bonfire store. That's bonfire.com/store/main event marks. Support your favorite retro wrestling podcast and pick up some cool swag on our Bonfire and Redbubble stores. That's maineventmarks.redbubble.com and bonfire.com/store/main event marks.
By God! Somebody's interrupting the Main Event Marks! Sit down, JR. It's just me, Kyle Sullivan, aka Shaggy Von Doom, your host of Here in Puckburg on the Hockey Podcast Network. I know, a hockey show on the Main Event Marks. Who would have thought? This is an invasion angle. Somewhere between the Nexus and when WCW tried to invade WWE, somewhere in there. But I'm over here just telling you that one half of your tag team champions over here, Greg, he told his story of his love for the game of hockey over on my show. And if you'd like to hear that story, all you have to do is search Here in Puckburg wherever you get your podcast or on YouTube. In the meantime, Shagamania's got to go run wild on some other hockey show. So, just remember, quote the Raven, nevermore, take your vitamins, say your prayers, and oh yeah!
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks. If you're tuning into a wrestling podcast to hear about wrestling and you want it gimmick and politic free, you probably want the same out of your products. Are you ready to ditch the gimmick coffee? Coffee Brand Coffee is fresh roasted to order using only the highest quality coffee sourced direct from farms around the world. They've got bagged coffee as well as K-Cups. Not into coffee? Well, they've got great teas and cocos as well. At Coffee Brand Coffee, their head coffee roasters have mastered the art of unlocking flavors hidden inside their beans. Each batch is custom crafted and curated to accompany unique flavor profiles. Click on the link in the podcast description or go to coffeebrandcoffee.com and use our special promo code MAINEVENT, all one word, at checkout to get 5% off your order. That's coffeebrandcoffee.com and use the promo code MAINEVENT to save 5% at checkout. But all right, ready to get into the show here?
I am.
All right. This
I'd
one...
be surprised with my opinion on this, actually.
I thought it was a good watch. I mean, we'll get to it at the end, but all in all, I mean, if somebody was like, should I spend an hour and a half watching this? I'd say absolutely, no doubt.
I would say if you definitely had time.
Oh,
Don't go out of your way to watch it. That's my disclaimer.
It's not like must see, but it's got some really good stuff on here that we'll get to. But it is WWF this Tuesday in Texas. It was the first pay-per-view of its kind on a Tuesday, and, well, by the lack of success of it, they don't do another one of these experiments until Taboo Tuesday, which was in the 2000s. So,
13 years later? 14 years later.
Yeah. Yeah, and this one took place...
Almost exactly 14 years later.
Yeah, it's nuts. And this one took place December 3rd, 1991, from the Freeman Coliseum in San Antonio, Texas. The attendance, 8,000, and the pay-per-view buy rate was a 1.0, amounting to 140,000 buys.
I consider that a win, considering it was 6 days after a big one and another pay-per-view on top of that.
Right. Well, and they kept this one short because, I mean, it's a weekday. People had to work and go to school and whatever, so they couldn't stay up late watching a pay-per-view. So they had it earlier. They had it shorter. It's almost kind of what you would expect from an In Your House in the future. But,
I feel like this was like the start of In Your House. Like what they came up with In Your House. I feel like this is where they came up with it from.
Most likely, yeah. Although at least they learned their lesson and put it on a Sunday night. But there were a whole host of dark matches before the show. officially began, including the LOD successfully defending their tag team titles against the Rockers, and then immediately again against the Natural Disasters, which ended in the disqualification. The final dark match before the show started was Ric Flair defeating Roddy Piper. So,
yeah, because we don't want that on pay-per-view.
Yeah, wait. Flair and Piper, whatever. We got to get. Well, we'll get into it.
I like that it was a big feud at this time, by the way, and it never happened on pay-per-view.
Yeah,
that's
freaking stupid.
Now, granted, they didn't have a lot of pay-per-views back then. I mean,
yeah,
there's that, but still.
But still, it's like these are two huge stars that you didn't put together on a pay-per-view or a big show at all.
That's our running trend with Flair in the WWE, though. So
yeah,
apparently,
talk about missed boats, man. Like what the hell? But anyway, we start the show off with the closing interview from Survivor Series 91, where Mean Gene Okerlund is in a smoke-filled dark room backstage at the Joe Louis Arena talking to The Undertaker and Paul Bearer. We then start the show off with Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby the Brain Heenan promoting what we're going to see tonight. And this first match, man, kicking off with Bret the Hitman Hart defending the WWF Intercontinental title against Skinner. This one went 13.
It's funny. In 4 months, he'll have a match against Owen Hart. Made the rounds, man.
Who, Skinner did?
Yeah, WrestleMania 8. So he made the rounds.
Lord. Yeah, I forgot about that.
You mentioned that on the archives. Yeah, we mentioned on the last podcast that goes with this episode. Again, go listen to it.
Yeah, right. That is correct.
Now, I didn't mention it word for word because I was saving it for this, but, you know.
Yep. And by God, this was something. But, yeah, this one went 13 minutes, 46 seconds. Two girls freak the F out when Bret gives one of them his glasses. And here's something I didn't know, and you wouldn't know until you listen to, like, Bruce Pritchard's podcast. He said Bret would always, like, autograph it and put the date on it and whatever before he gave it to somebody.
When I heard that, I was bowled over because I never even saw it.
Yeah, right? Like, what? That's pretty awesome. But Bobby Heenan says, get that bimbo some oxygen. Good Lord. Things wouldn't fly today. In today's age.
Put it on the list.
Yep. Gorilla mentions that Skinner is undefeated and earned this title shot.
Right.
But not for one freaking second did anyone believe he'd beat Bret. I mean, come on. I honestly can't believe that's Steve Kern of the Fabulous Ones, by the way, doing this character.
The Fabulous Ones were like heartthrobs.
Yep.
And I'm not judging Skinner's looks, but this is far from a heartthrob. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's balding. He's got a big beard, mouthful of chew. Looking like he just crawled out of the swamp. Yeah. Well,
Southern wrestling boy.
According to Bruce Pritchard, this was much more in line with how Steve Kern is in real life than the Fabulous Ones were. So, yeah, that's sure.
God, I'm gonna get crap for this, but I have no problem believing that.
Right.
At least he was in a main spot. Because he was on a hot team and came over to WWE, and at least he got somewhat of a shot. I think this would literally be it, though.
Yeah, that's about it. And then he goes back down to Florida and does some territorial stuff. The WrestleMania
match he's about to have is a throwaway, so.
Yep. Oh, for freaking sure. When the ref gets distracted, Skinner clotheslines Bret with an alligator claw on a rope.
Right.
That's
a real sentence.
Yeah. In the end, however, Skinner gets thrown off the top rope by Bret Hart and taps out to the sharpshooter. Uncle Dave gave this 2.25 stars. I gave it 2. It didn't suck, but it wasn't great. What say you?
I gave it 2 only because I thought it was so much better than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I went into it. I was like, oh, God, asses and seats right here. And then I watched it. I'm like, not too bad. The only reason I didn't give it, 2.5 at least was because, like I said, who the hell thought that Skinner was going to beat him? Like, that kind of takes away from it.
When I was a kid, I might have thought it or believed it. But
yeah. I will say this. At least they kept him undefeated, but, whatever. We now go backstage with Sean Mooney in the locker room with Jake the Snake Roberts. Mooney reminds us that WWF President Jack Tunney has banned all reptiles from ringside tonight.
What the fuck?
That's a real stipulation. And he says that he saw Macho Man earlier and he's wired.
Allegedly!
Breaking news! Good Lord. If Macho Man...
Let's just move on.
If Macho Man was ever low-key, that's a big story. All right, let me know. Anyway, Jake talks about how Macho Man was out of it in the last time he saw him, but he enjoyed seeing the fear in Miss Elizabeth's eyes for Randy Savage. Jake says that Randy is his trigger to do evil, and tonight there won't be a snake in a bag in the corner, but he's the snake in the corner. That's pretty good. He did some really good stuff in this era, man.
Bill Jake scared the crap out of me.
Yeah, man, he seemed like he was going to rip your eyeballs out and laugh about it. We now flip to Mean Gene Okerlund backstage with the Macho Man, Randy Savage, standing by with Miss Elizabeth. Macho Man basically goes over what Jake just said and says that Jake taught them not to trust anything about him, but trust him that he's going to crush him with a flying elbow drop. He says that while Jake gets a rush from putting venom inside of the Macho Man and seeing fear in Elizabeth's eyes, his rush will come from defeating Jake and looking into Elizabeth's eyes after his victory. Jake's music then starts playing and Savage runs off with Elizabeth. We now get Jake the Snake Roberts taking on Macho Man Randy Savage in about 6.5 minutes. While Jake is making his entrance, Randy runs out behind him and attacks him to jumpstart the match.
Jumpstart, bro.
Now, this is how you start a match during a blood feud. It's a lost art, I feel like.
Why the hell would they win?
Well, that was like that's a big criticism that a lot of people have had. They're like, who was it that was going after Marina Shafir and like Roderick Strong stuck up for her? Do you remember?
I don't remember that happening.
Somebody said something about he like insulted Marina during their feud. I can't remember who it was now off the top of my head, but it was like a year or two ago. And they were pointing out, they're like, this is a big blood feud. The guy's been talking crap about his wife and all this other stuff. So what does Roderick do? He comes out doing his whole entrance and makes sure to pose for the boom in his song. And then they tie up. Like, yeah, I can kind of see how stupid that is now, but they did have a good match. So, like I said, I can't remember who the hell it was now, but either way, Miss Elizabeth does not come out with Randy Savage, which also makes sense for a blood feud. Maybe Brandy Rhodes should take some notes.
No, maybe Cody should take some notes. She's the star of the show, dude.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, both. So did you hear Cornette's review of that? He was like, Aleister Black, or Malachi Black's been kicking everybody's heads off, and he's been so dangerous and a wild card and whatever. So what does Cody do? He brings his wife to ringside with him, puts her in danger, and then she rolls in the ring.
By the way.
Yeah, right. The mother of his children, and then she's gonna roll in, look him in the face, and flip him off right in the center of the ring. Yeah. Anyway, in the end,
stop him from missing her or kicking her in the head.
Yeah, I don't. Everybody should just stand back. And it's like, I mean, missing her in the face at least isn't hitting her, so I don't know. But in the end, Jake goes for a DDT, but gets shouldered into the corner, collapses, and Macho Man hits the flying elbow drop for the win. Uncle Dave gave this 3 stars. I will say this, not to spoil anything coming up, but Dave said he gave it like an extra. He said the match itself was 2 stars, but he gave it an extra star for the post-match. I judged just on the match itself. I gave it 2.5. It wasn't as good as I thought it would be. Let's say you.
I gave it 2. I think the Saturday Night Main Event match is way better.
I'll have to watch that. I haven't seen that one. At least I don't think I have. But yeah, this was, like I said, could have been better, but it wasn't bad.
It wasn't bad.
No, definitely not. But after the match, this is what I'm talking about here, the post-match stuff. Macho Man gives a thumbs down. The crowd cheers, and Savage goes to grab a chair, but Tony Gurria takes the chair away from him. Savage then knocks Gurria down and takes the ring bell as the crowd goes nuts. The referee takes the ring bell away from Savage, and Jake hits a DDT on him. Jake then picks Macho Man up and hits a second DDT. From under the ring, Jake Roberts now pulls out a black leather bag with a drawstring. Miss Elizabeth now runs out to cover Macho Man and cries and begs Jake to get away and leave Savage alone. Jake ignores her pleas and the referee's orders, picks Savage up, and DDTs him again. Jake finally puts on the long black leather glove, so you know he means business. He unties the bag and tells Miss Elizabeth to start begging. He finally grabs Elizabeth by the hair, walking her around the ring, and then he slaps her before pushing the referee. Gorilla Monsoon says he should be suspended for life. So, I
was thinking the same thing. It's like, so like banned for life from like Pete Rose from Hall of Fame or what?
Yeah, I'm like, so we need to keep him under contract, but just not pay him. Like,
we don't want no one else to use him on TV, but he ain't being used here.
Yeah, right. Well, if they would see what he would go on to do in WCW, I'm sure they'd be fine with letting him go.
We're getting ready to get the Colt Myers glove, man. It's coming up quickly.
Oh, hell yeah, man. That's stuff right there. Oh, good Lord. Anyway, Jack Tunney and two referees finally convinced Jake Roberts to leave. Look, you and I both have talked about, we don't care the situation. We don't do the man-woman violence, whether it's staged or not. But, man, and this was a different time, so it was different. But, I don't know, man. This was a good-ass segment, dude.
Yeah, it was insane to see. Like, it shocked the hell out of me when I was a kid, so.
Did you watch this live?
I did, yeah.
I mean, what was your reaction to seeing that as a kid? Just like, holy crap!
I don't remember that. I think I was just fixated on Jake possibly pulling out the snake.
Yeah, and hey, for the record, we never did get to see what was in that black bag. So,
therefore, he might not have violated any rules.
Exactly. But backstage,
also, you can look at that bag and tell there's nothing in it.
Yeah, right. Well, what was that? It was a sock full of quarters, man. Or silver dollars. Yeah. No.
Silver dollar on a pole match.
Yeah.
That's a real thing in the archives. Go listen to it.
Johnson City silver dollar match. I still remember the name of that damn thing. What show was that? It was at
it was Bash the Beach 96, which is probably what that pay-per-view is most remembered for, is that match, right?
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, nothing else happened at that show. Now in the archives, by the way. That's how you plug the show, man. Johnson City silver dollar match.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan McCarthy, and I'm the host of the No Credentials Required podcast. Start your work week with the Monday Drop-In, where I talk about the sports beat in the Capital District, also known as the Mighty 518, as well as Metro New York sports from an upstate point of view. I also give a life lesson from a weekly sports story, so you might learn something from that. I also have a midweek podcast where I interview different sports personalities and talk about a wide array of topics. Take a listen and subscribe on your preferred podcast app, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and iHeartRadio. Also check out our social media channels on Twitter and Instagram, BellyUpNCR, and Facebook.com/BellyUpSportsNCR. We're a part of the Belly Up Sports Podcast Network in association with Godzilla Media. No credentials required, where you don't need a press pass to talk sports.
Hey gang, it's Commissioner Cooper of TSS Fantasy. We are the fantasy show of the people. Expert fantasy advice, free contests, leading expert medical and legal analysis, and most importantly, you. Interact with us on all social media platforms or check us out at tssfantasy.com. You can hear us on Spotify, Apple and Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and many more. Check out the fun today and be a part of the most interactive fantasy show around. TSS Fantasy, the fantasy show of the people.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
Backstage, Mean Gene Okerlund is standing by with Jake Roberts and tells him that he's disgusting for hitting a woman. Jake says that he doesn't want a woman who will grovel and beg. He wants a woman who will stand up for what they want. And he says that DDTing Randy Savage felt great, but what felt even better was yanking Miss Elizabeth up by her hair and slapping her. And he said that it felt so good he should have to pay for that. And Jake then starts getting Jake starts getting kind of pervy, and Mean Gene's like, get on out of here.
Fake with the lady in the front row. Oh, wait, wrong show.
Yeah, right. Well, what's weird here, it's like a role reversal, is Jake starts getting pervy and Mean Gene tells him to get away. Usually Mean Gene's the one that gets super pervy at the end of the promos.
It's true.
Anyway, up next, man, you want to talk about asses and seats. Here we go. It's the Warlord with Harvey Whippleman versus the British Bulldog.
Do you remember at the top of the show I said there's another match on here overlooking? You called it a two-match, you called it a two-match show, I think you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here you go.
Yeah, right.
Unless this is one of the matches you were talking about, and I was hugely mistaken.
Yeah. The last match was nothing. This one, man, here's where the money's at.
I believe this is a rematch of WrestleMania 7, by the way.
Oh, yay. This one, for anybody, I mean, these two guys are massive. And this is right in the heat of the steroid trial, which, by the way, is the season finale of Dark Side of the Ring. That was a crazy-ass episode, but...
Yeah, but crazy season.
Yeah, it definitely was. There were a couple episodes that I was just kind of like, whatever. But for the most part, the season, just like, especially the last two episodes of the season, just like, what the hell? There's a good plug. This one went 12.
We do that enough on this show.
I know, right? We kind of just give them.
We should get some money from them, dude.
I know. Give us royalties. But this one went 12 minutes 45 seconds because that's what we want from these guys. More time.
I said the sarcasm. But...
This was a kind of match that gets Vince McMahon stiffer than a javelin.
Big American and big Brit Fastly.
Man. Look at all that man meat in the ring. Oh. Anyway, moving on. I felt like I was watching this match at half speed. Bulldog almost passes out to a full Nelson that goes on for 20 minutes, but he gets out of it. Oh, thank God. Because we need more. In the end,
I was on my knees thanking the good Lord.
In the end, British Bulldog gets a crucifix pin on the Warlord for the win. God, Uncle Dave gave it 2.25 stars. I gave it 1.5. Let's say you.
Both gave it too much. I gave it 1.
Yeah. Look, Bulldog gave it some effort, but Warlord sucked. And just both these guys.
Hey, that's a decent wrestler you're talking about right there.
Oh, well. I don't even know what to say about that.
That's not even made up. So go read his book. It's in there.
So he was watching crap like this and was like, man, I want to be just like that guy. Good
I like
Lord.
to think he's better.
Yeah. Warlord sucked. I mean, Dave wasn't Flair.
Then this is brilliant when you think about it. He set the bar so low for himself so he can overachieve. At that point, you got to give him more respect.
And I think he was bigger than the Warlord as far as, I mean, maybe not height-wise, but he was freaking, still is, jacked to the gills.
No, I'm like, what do you mean was?
Yeah, right. But backstage, we get Sean Mooney standing by with Macho Man Randy Savage, who's spitting mad. My favorite part of this, by the way, is like Macho Man's like going nuts and like all upset and rolling on the ground and everything. And Sean Mooney's like, I'm just as upset as you are.
Yeah, I'm sure you are.
Yeah, I can see it in your face, Sean. Whatever. But as Macho says, he blames himself for letting Jake get his hands on Elizabeth. And then he says he's going to get Jake. There won't be any stopping him. He seems internally tortured and keeps going on about, I blame myself. and about Jake slapping Elizabeth, and he said, "You think you made her beg? You ain't seen nothing yet." And then he slaps himself in the face and storms off. I think this was some of
because that made sense.
I think this is some of Macho's best work. Like, I mean, he's had some great promos and some off the wall freaking ones, but like we got to see some emotion from him here, man. Not just like being nuts, you know.
Yeah.
Like he actually like, and you know they pointed out they're like, if you think about it, other than him, you know, weirdly asking Elizabeth, "Will you marry me?" You know, it's like other than that, we haven't ever really seen him. I don't know, show a whole lot of emotion about Elizabeth, other than, I mean, maybe the end of WrestleMania 7, the end of his match, I should say.
Yeah, because, you know, the heel Macho Man used her as a slave, essentially.
Yeah, right. It's like, get in my corner. But, yeah, so this was a change. It was kind of cool. But you said they had a rematch after this on Saturday night's main event?
I believe that was the rematch, yeah, when Undertaker turns face, when he's about to hit them when they're coming through the curtain.
Huh. I
believe that was the match that was better than this. There was a match better. I'm pretty sure that was it.
Well,
you've never seen that one where the Undertaker stops him from hitting him with a chair, and it's when Undertaker turns face?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I'll have to go check that out. Yeah, because I mean,
yeah, that was like the night that the Undertaker turned into what he became.
Ah, nice. Yeah, because I mean, if you think about it, just I don't know, handful of months after this, Macho Man would be winning the WWF title at WrestleMania from Ric Flair. So that's pretty cool. But right here, up next, we get Ted DiBiase and the Repo Man with Sensational Sherry in their corner. They're taking
Can we just take a second to acknowledge how awesome that team is?
Oh, yeah, the money guy and the repo guy.
The only guy that's missing is IRS, dude.
Yeah, right. Or, you know, apparently I have a weird tick of calling him the IRS. You know, I listen back to the podcast, and I do that, and I don't even notice it. I'm not doing it on purpose. I just do it.
Well, you're making sure you decipher between him and the fake IRS. He's the IRS, not an IRS.
Yeah, the government agency, that's not the real one, all right? They got their name from Erwin R. Shyster, not the other way around. Can I stop now?
I don't know why you're giggling, but okay, whatever.
Anyway, DiBiase and Repo Man are taking on the team of Virgil and El Matador. God damn.
Sir, here is a check with my name on it. Write down any number on this piece of paper, and I will pay it.
This one, it's like, they weren't going to sell this joint out with, the main event, but they put this one on the marquee. Next thing you know, they just sold the joint out.
In about, 8 months or so, Virgil and Nails are about to sell out Wembley Stadium.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
You like that story, by the way, about Nails, where he was testifying against Vince McMahon, and they're like, "You hold any animosity towards Vince?" And he's like, "No, I don't hold any animosity towards him." And then somebody's like, "He doesn't know what that word means." And they're like, "Okay, do you hate Vince McMahon?" He's like, "Oh yeah, I hate Vince McMahon." They're like, "Okay." So he's an idiot.
Yeah, he practically gave him the win.
Yeah, right. But anyway, this goes 11 and a half minutes. Apparently, this match is happening because DiBiase hired the Repo Man to get his $1 million belt back from Virgil. Virgil fought back, and Repo Man knocked him out with the $1 million title.
Yeah, that was a shame.
Yeah, that just killed him deader than Kelsey's nuts.
Well, he was really hot there for a minute. I'm not even joking when I say that, by the way. He really was. I know. He was over as hell, dude.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was.
Go back and listen. We did SummerSlam 91, I believe, right?
Yeah,
we did.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think so.
Well, I think we did, yeah. It's go back and listen. Go back and watch that one. People Madison Square Garden blows their load when he wins the $1 million title. So
wow.
Don't tell me he wasn't over.
By the way,
that is correct.
Now in the archives, SummerSlam 1991. So, but yeah, this one, man. Getting into the match itself, it's hard to think that at this time Virgil was actually fairly over, like you just mentioned, and looking at Repo Man, it's hard to imagine that he used to be Demolition Smash.
And that was like earlier this year, mind you.
Did you know as a kid, like, look at it, you're like, Smash?
I had zero clue.
Okay.
And also, this is going to sound real stupid. I did not know Kona Crush was the Crush from Demolition. I just thought it was the same name.
Wow.
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Well, you weren't old enough probably, because I know little Conrad Thompson there was talking. He was like, well, I was a kid watching this. I'm like, freaking out. Like, that's Smash. He just took the makeup off and put on a damn Hamburglar mask.
I had no clue. And I'll go you one better. I didn't even know that he was hole-in-one Barry Darso, because he had like that. I don't know. He wore that hat, wore that stupid.
And he shaved his head.
Obviously, yeah. So he has one of those faces, like, at least to me as a kid, that you just change it up with like one little tiny thing, whether it be a mask, paint, shave your head.
Yeah.
God,
I guess good for him. I don't know.
Yeah, good for him. It kept him employed, didn't it? Jeez.
Yeah. Well,
think about it, dude. Like time to like 1996 or 7. He was never unemployed.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, and before Smash, he was the evil Russian in the NWA. He was Crusher Khrushchev. He was the Russian sympathizer, Crusher Khrushchev. Well, about El Matador, Bobby Heenan calls him Mr. Guacamole, calls his flying forearm the Flying Jalapeno, and at one point...
I think I alluded to it on past show episode.
Yep. And he says that at one point that Matador, quote, slipped on a tortilla.
What the fuck?
More things that wouldn't fly in today's age.
I'm glad I was a kid. I didn't get all those jokes.
Yeah.
Nor did I remember them, because I might have used them in school and got in trouble. I had a habit of doing that.
Well, and you would have been 50% offended.
That's true. I wouldn't have gotten that much trouble.
Yeah, right?
My dad might have laughed.
Hey, you're only half in trouble, all right? Sherry accidentally clocks DiBiase with her high heel. Virgil then grabs Sherry by the hair, and Repo Man hits a running knee to Virgil's lower back, which apparently just incapacitated him, because DiBiase rolls him up and pins him for the win. Oh, what the hell? I got fairly bored with this one, and but it didn't suck, I guess. Uncle Dave gave it 3.5 stars. I gave it 2.5 for average. What say you?
I gave it 2. How did he get 3?
3.5
Was this a 1-star match, but it took place in Tokyo Dome? We didn't realize it, so I got a couple extra stars. Did we miss something?
Yeah, I'm like, is one of these guys like part Japanese and I don't know it? Like, what's going on here, man? I saw that rating and I was like, what?
Guy, clearly.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you can just tell by looking at him. I mean, so I don't even know what to do with that one. We go backstage now with Mean Gene Okerlund standing by with Hulk Hogan. Hulk says that at SummerSlam he could feel the Undertaker, Survivor Series, he could feel the Undertaker slowly squeeze the life out of Hulkamania, but Undertaker didn't kill him or Hulkamania, and the real winners were the Hulkamaniacs that still believed in him. He then drops his usual, "What you gonna do, brother?" And
keep in mind, this is after he got like a neck compression, right, from that tombstone 6 days ago.
Allegedly.
Oh, yeah, you hurt me bad, brother. I guess he did spend the night in the hospital.
Well, we hurt him so bad he couldn't wrestle the next night. He had to take 6 days off. So
yeah, right.
Maybe there's something there we're overlooking.
He's like, oh, I really got to take time off, brother. You really hurt my neck. I'll be ready in 6 days, though. Whatever.
This isn't football, dude.
Yeah, right.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. My name is Thomas, and what's your name?
I'm Alan. Oh, yeah. We're brothers.
That's right.
Yeah. Same mother and father.
Your room was...
we shared the room.
Shared a room?
We shared the room.
Thought I knew your face.
Yeah, we go way back, mate. Yeah.
We should do a podcast then.
We have.
We do a podcast?
We do a podcast.
What's it called?
The Brocast. Yeah, that was planned.
Yeah, well...
What do we do?
Well, we cover all different things in the world of pop culture. We're talking about comic books, we're talking about professional wrestling, and we're talking about movies. Go back and watch classic retro wrestling events, the likes of WWE, WCW, and if you do like that, you can check us out on Apple iTunes, also on Podbean, Anchor, and on Podknife. Also check us out on Twitter at The Broadcast. That's BROKAST. I nearly stuffed up the ending.
Hey, it's all right. Good on you.
Yeah. Instagram also at The Broadcast Podcast.
Remember, we don't spell it with a C. We spell it with a K.
Sorry, mate.
Take it easy.
The Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
Here is the main event. It's the Undertaker with Paul Bearer in his corner defending the WWF World Heavyweight title against Hulk Hogan. Went about 13 minutes long. The champion entered first, which seemed to be a common theme with Hulk Hogan. The Undertaker also carries the title in his hand to the ring, and he did not wear it.
I liked how he carried it, by the way. He carried it like with the strap, like not like, hand on the side of the strap, like over the strap, like was squeezing it together. Did you catch that?
Yeah, it was definitely original, and nobody around that time did that. They all wore the belt, but he did not. So it was cool. It was different. When Hogan slides into the ring, Undertaker and Paul Bearer both jump him, stomping away at him. Hogan then does the noggin knocker to both of them, and then Paul Bearer takes a powder. WWF president
widely regarded, by the way, as one of the worst babyface moves in wrestling history.
The noggin knocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did that all the time, by the way. You notice that?
I do. Yeah, I did. I think someone said the argument's always been between that and the slingshot. What's the dumbest move?
I will say this: the slingshot. I've had it legitimately done to me. You can actually fling a guy that way. So I guess it works. I don't know, but either way, when WWF President Jack Tunney is at ringside for this one to assure law and order. Right down the middle, Daddy. Most of the Undertaker's offense in this one is consisting of choking the Hulkster. So there's that. We got a rare Undertaker
It's like 5 or 6 different chokes, by the way. You notice that?
Yeah. He just keeps choke. I'm like, dude, do you have any other moves?
Standing from behind, on the ground.
Yeah.
Like him and chokes are like Roderick Strong and backbreakers.
Yeah, right. The Messiah of the choke. But we get a rare Undertaker botch during Hulk Hogan's first comeback because Undertaker is running the ropes and he trips and falls. I don't know if you caught that.
I probably did, but I didn't write it down.
It didn't catch on camera because the camera's more focused on Hulk, but you kind of see out of the corner of the screen he hits the ropes and his foot catches or something. He falls forward. But anyway, Ric Flair ends up coming to ringside yet again, just like at Survivor Series, but Jack Tunney cuts him off to yell at him. Hogan grabs a chair and plasters Flair's back, causing Flair to fall on top of Jack Tunney and take his ass out. Behind the ref's back, Flair tries to hold a chair up for Undertaker on the apron, but it backfires. Undertaker tries to push Hogan into Paul Bearer's urn, but Hogan ducks and Taker gets the urn to the face.
In the face! In the face!
And then Hogan then dumps out the ashes of the urn, throws them in Taker's face, just like a good old baby face would do. And then he pins him. And then he pins him with a schoolboy for the title win, which I never thought would be a sentence I would speak, but here we are. Uncle Dave gave it a 1.5 stars, and he claimed that this sucked. I mean, it wasn't great. I gave it 2.5 for average. Let's say you.
I gave it 2, but barely.
Yeah.
I did not like this. Survivor Series was decent.
Yeah.
This felt very unnecessary.
This era of Taker versus this era of Hogan did not mesh well. Not that Hogan was blowing the doors off, getting 10 stars in the Tokyo Dome with other people, but he could at least make it more entertaining. I just got kind of
the
bored.
one guy who wouldn't get all them stars in the Tokyo Dome, but
yeah. Well,
clearly he was winding down at this time.
Yeah. Well, you got to get that belt back, brother. Oh, yeah, I don't know about that kid. You know, he hurt my neck, brother. Got to get that belt back on me. But
and he wouldn't though.
Yeah.
I believe he wouldn't hold it again because the aftermath of this, and we'll probably talk about it. But he wouldn't hold it again until WrestleMania 9.
Oh yeah, because he loses it. Wait, no, he gets stripped, doesn't he? Well, we'll talk about it.
Technically, yeah.
Yeah. Well, after the match, Hulk Hogan clotheslines Undertaker out of the ring. Taker then goes to climb back in, but Paul Bearer grabs him by the hair and pulls him back while he holds the urn in his face to kind of control him. Jack Tunney had woke up earlier just in time to see Hogan throw the ashes in Undertaker's face and is talking to the referee about it as the Hulkster poses, brother, for because there were two rules in wrestling for two different eras. There was Austin must stun in the late 90s, and in the early 90s, late 80s, it was Hogan must pose, pal. But he poses for the San Antonio crowd as we close the show.
Follow the Main Event Marks at Facebook.com/Main Event Marks Pod, on Twitter at Main Event _Marks, and on Instagram at Main Event _Marks and at Main Event Collector.
What's up, everybody? I am the hardest part of the ring, the host of the Apron Bump podcast. Ugh, another wrestling podcast. How many times can I listen to fans tell me who needs a push, who doesn't need a push, who brings Vince's coffee these days? Enough! The Apron Bump is about the journey. It's about nostalgia. It's about discovering new forms of wrestling to really tickle your pickle as a wrestling fan. The podcast brings you reviews of wrestling events all over the world, whether it's WWF, WWE, WCW, ECW. We even cover the golden eras of Ring of Honor, Progress, TNA, and more promotions in the future as well. New episodes every Wednesday. Bump day, yeah? Go to apronbump.com or go to your favorite podcast platform or YouTube and subscribe today for the most diverse, fan-friendly wrestling podcast in the world. I'm Hard.
Main Event Marks are available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. Find all of our links on our link tree at linktr.ee/Main Event Marks.
We'll get into the aftermath here in just a second, but final ratings here. Internet Movie Database gave it 6.2 out of 10. CageMatch.net gave it 5.28 out of 10. I gave it 6.5 out of 10 for a barely passing D. What say you?
I went back and forth on this. I give it a D+.
It was watchable. Like I said, it was fun at parts. I don't know. I did not like Undertaker losing the belt 6 days after getting it. That seems
it's a championship.
stupid.
But...
Oh, well, excuse the F out of me.
Me, right?
No, at this time, you could still call it a belt, damn it. And they did frequently.
Side note, I think AEW used like hammering home the word belt just as a funny gag now, which I think is funny.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. This one was a show. I don't know.
It happened.
Yeah. So remind me again, what was the aftermath of this with the title?
So Tunney ended up holding up the title, saying no one's the champion because of the way it ended with the ashes.
Yeah.
And it took a little while, but they finally said, "Oh, the winner of the Royal Rumble will get it."
Oh, yeah.
And honestly, I thought it was easily going to be Hulk Hogan.
And it was Ric Flair, the real world champion. Woo!
No one saw that. I mean, to me, no one saw that coming, but again, just me.
A lot of people didn't. Well, with his booking up until this point, no, nobody would have guessed that. As we discussed on the Survivor Series 91 episode, his booking was not the best. I mean, it didn't suck, but I mean, he did open Survivor Series 91 in a match that wasn't great. We discussed, it's like, well, he was one of the only stars in that entire match, and he was the sole survivor, and he won, but the match sucked. And like I said, he opened a pay-per-view in a throwaway match. So,
He opened a throwaway pay-per-view in a throwaway match.
How dare you say that Survivor Series was a throwaway pay-per-view? That was one of the big four.
I know. That was one of the ones I just didn't feel. But
yeah, Survivor Series
I didn't hate it either. I was just really indifferent on it.
Survivor Series, I've always liked it, but I mean, if you're gonna have to rank the quote unquote big four, that's the bottom of the the tier, obviously. I mean,
it's gotten a hell of a lot more interesting over the past couple of years because of what they do now. I'll say that.
Oh yeah, and the one you and I went to in 2019 was awesome. I loved it.
That was a great one.
My opinion, one of the best Survivor Series ever. I might be a little biased, but whatever.
I'm right there with you. I thought so too.
So
and to this until this current one comes up, still the last one with fans. So there you go.
Yeah, right. So it was awesome. And you and I got to see the show live in Chicago. Real quick before we officially sign off from this bonus episode, I do want to remind everybody to follow us on all forms of social media. We are on Twitter and Instagram at @main_event_marks. And Greg is on Instagram at Main Event Collector. Facebook is facebook.com/Main Event Marks Podcast. And then leave some feedback. We like the comments. I try to reply to pretty much every single comment, unless it's, just something off the wall or just really offensive or something like that.
Too much in this one because there's no Von Erich talk in this one, so we should be fine.
Oh, well, I don't know. Recently, I had somebody tell me, I posted a clip of us talking about how, when Bill Watts went on his racist and homophobic rant, and somebody actually was like, well, it's pretty sad. A guy gets fired for expressing his opinions. I'm like, he said he should have the right not to serve black people. And he didn't call them black people.
I think that tells us a lot more about that specific person, but.
Yeah, it's just like he used a lot of, buzzwords that you're not supposed to use in, decent
light
speak. Yeah, right. You just don't use those words. And, it's pretty effed up. He's like, well, just a difference of opinion. I'm like, sure. Weirdo.
Thank you for tuning in and listening to us. This was a former YouTube exclusive, but I decided to put it up on the RSS feed for the first time ever to give you more content for November. I hope you all enjoyed it, and definitely check us out on YouTube. It's youtube.com/@maineventmarks, and we provide you with a lot of great content on there. With wrestling, the podcast that we provide, and clips, Marks on Media, where we cover Marks on Games, Marks on Movies, Marks on TV, and Marks on Anime. We got fig hunting videos, sometimes from me, a lot of the times from Greg, and some unboxing videos from him as well. Jacob Grandi with his Curtain Jerkin does a great job, I gotta tell you. It's all current stuff, and he breaks down opening matches, Curtain Jerkin matches from federations across the world. So get your current wrestling fix with him at youtube.com/@maineventmarks and become one of the over 1,000 subscribers we already have. Thank you if you already are subscribed, and subscribe to this here podcast. This Friday, we're going to bring you a bonus. It is a best of for Black Friday with some new content mixed in there as well, but we're going to be running down the famous trilogy from 1989 in the NWA between Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat over the big gold belt. You don't want to miss that one. But thank you all for tuning in here. If you want to hear some news from around this time in the archives, go check out our Survivor Series 1991 episode. You're bound to love that one as well. And we will see you all this Friday with Ricky Steamboat and Ric Flair's famous 1989 trilogy.